Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to episode 116 of the Let's Talk Oculus podcast. I'm your host, as always, Dan from Playtest VR, and I'm joined by my co-host, as always. It's always Santa Samson.
As always in December, I am doing well outside of, really hurting my back the other day. But
too much Assassin's Creed, right? You took a leap of faith and actually did it in real life.
In real life, I'm just getting old. I'm just getting old. I learned what it means to have your back go out, and but I've been pushing through. Mostly because I've kind of been enjoying Assassin's Creed. Not Assassin's Creed, Dan. Not Assassin's Creed at all. Asgard's Wrath.
I mean, they are very similar titles. And I was also about to say, Santa Samson is quite a hard thing to say if you try and say that as quickly as possible.
Say it five times fast.
5 times, yeah. Say it 5 times as fast. For everyone listening and watching, thanks for joining us. Today is a bit of a 2-part podcast. The start of it is going to be more like what we've been playing and such, having a little discussion as we always do. But the second half, and it's the main chunk of the podcast, is all going to be about Samson and Richie from Richie's Plank Experience. You sat down with him. Yeah.
Filled with all of your questions.
Yeah.
Although I did come at him with a unique one for my final question. We had kind of gone a little longer than we expected, per usual. But I had one final question, but you're gonna have to go ahead and wait and listen.
Actually, I have no idea. I haven't edited it yet as we're recording this one, so I haven't actually seen what you said to him. But yeah, I mean, they just had their recent update with the Canyon DLC and such, and obviously they're creating a new game as well, which is not the Plank Experience. I think it's a platformer, I believe. I might have to fact check that. So yeah, it was great to have Richie on the show. I mean, like I said, I haven't listened to this one yet, but Samson, you had a good chat with him, and obviously when it goes on for longer, it's been a good talk. It's been a good time.
We had a good time.
So you got that to enjoy. Just a quick housekeeping before we get into it. Next week, we will be having our year in review. It'll be the last podcast of 2023, obviously. And it'll be our Quest 3 and /Quest 2, because Quest 2 is obviously a big chunk review. And if you want to send any questions, send it to us on the Discord, on the YouTube comments, always the best places. But you can also email us at letstalkoculus@gmail.com as well, and we can also answer your questions. In fact, we can also do it if you I think there's question and answer in Spotify as well, if you use Spotify for your podcasts. So you can put your questions in there as well, and we will do our best to answer them. Yeah, get them in. And if you're not joined already, join the Discord. Link is in the description below, and you can join us. And there's there's big sales on right now, Samson, and therefore there's also constant app referrals in our Discord as well as the Google Drive link in the actual description itself. Samson, have you got your eye on anything? There's a lot of sales going on.
Lots of sales going on right now. I picked up Pillow on sale for 30%, and I picked up Samba de
Amigo.
The dance. Yeah, the dance one. It hit 30 or 33% off, and I bit.
Fair enough. There's been a lot of good deals. They're heavily discounted. A lot of these games.
Yeah.
So if you've got, if you're planning on getting a Quest 3 or something, or even a Quest 2 for Christmas, then obviously raid those.
Sale,
I think they're available for 2 weeks, I believe.
Sale. It runs through January 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, I went through them. I was eyeing up a few. I've been eyeing them up since the Black Friday and such. I have credit now because a lot of people have been using some of my referrals as well. But I don't know. There's so many games to play. We'll get into it in a second, that I just can't, for example, let's start off with the games, right? Asgard's Wrath 2, I have not been able to play yet, okay? Because essentially, I've been traveling, but then I was like, okay, when I came back yesterday, let's get it downloaded and let's play it.
It's
The
big.
internet connection of where I am in my parents' place, they live in a little like countryside in England. It's so slow. I mean, it's fine as we're doing the podcast. It seems to be totally fine. But when it comes to downloading something, forget about it. Asgard's Wrath took about 3 to 4 hours to download on my
Holy
Quest 2.
smokes.
It just wouldn't go. It was like 1 gig was done after half an hour or something like that. It took so long. So by the time it was finished, I was like, hey, there's no point me playing this for the first 20 minutes just to talk on the pod. But that's one game, and then obviously we'll come back to that because obviously you've been playing it. And the other game, I just won a giveaway for the cookie game.
Oh, snap.
Man? Yeah, I just won it.
They
They had a giveaway on the Twitter, and I just retweeted it and put a comment. That's what they basically said to do. And then they just messaged me this morning saying I won the giveaway, and I was like, perfect.
Nice.
I was like, sweet.
That seems
so
like a targeted winner.
Yeah, I know, right? They followed me straight away afterwards, and I was like, But yeah, anyway, I've got that downloaded, not played it yet, but I will play it for next week's pod for sure. Samson, how about you start in terms of the games that we've actually been playing before your gave away?
Well, I'll talk about post my back giveaway because that's been all my Asgard's Wrath playtime. I'm about 90 minutes in. Dan, this is a big game. Some of the puzzles I feel like I just guessed at. There's one in particular. I don't know how I solved it, Dan, but I solved it. I kept progressing. Dare I say, Dan, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I am. I do still think it's kind of too big for me. I mean, like I said, I'm 90 minutes in. This game is IGN says 90 plus hours.
You already feel it too in terms of the scope of it?
I can tell that I'm only really at the beginning. Like I got to the roguelike part and I did one run of it, but you have 4 options of characters and I only have one of them. So then I was like, all right, let me get back to the main story. I feel like I got to play a good chunk of the main storyline before I go back to that. But that does seem like it will be fun. Like I saw all my friends on that leaderboard list because everybody has this game.
Yeah.
And everybody was ahead of me.
I mean, apart from me, because well, I mean, I'm not even on the leaderboard yet.
Exactly.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, I do want to go back to that roguelike, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not too into the story itself, and it is kind of hard. I'm dying a lot, Dan, so I might go into story mode. They say easy mode, if you will. I'm tempted to do that. I'm not very good at the combat. I'm pretty impatient, and I don't want to wait to,
parry and such. What is the combat like compared to Assassin's Creed? Because that seems to be the one thing that Assassin's Creed doesn't really do that well.
I think I enjoyed this game way more
than Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. I mean, the combat it doesn't feel as good as it feels in Dungeons of Eternity to me. But it feels good. It feels better than in Assassin's Creed, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
In what I've played so far.
Did you watch like a little, what do you call it? Like a little 10 minutes prequel just to see what the first one was about? Because I think that's in the game, right? Where you can watch that if you want to, just to give you the story beats.
I watched it, Dan. It's pretty cool. It's, real stylistic. It's got like 2 big faces where they do voiceovers and whatnot.
Nice. How's the graphics? What's the graphics like?
It's very beautiful. It's really big. There's a good amount of texture pop in particular. So like I'll see it in like phases of 3 and I'll just go back and forth on purpose to really check it out. It's funny to me. I don't know. I don't really mind it that much, but I do like enjoy messing around with it. It is big though, and everything looks good. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's clear. Some of the puzzles feel like Lego game, which is another game I'll talk about. in that when you go to God mode, you got to move your character somewhere, then go to God mode, move things around, move your character again.
Oh, that's cool.
And I just feel like it's just like Lego, where instead of I'd just be moving my character, I have to build something to get across.
Yeah.
It's just
That's fun. I'm really excited to play. I saw whilst I was traveling over the weekend that there's been a lot of mixed views from actual players. Like critically, it's done very well. I mean, IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. Now, as much as IGN are to VR reviews and VR in general, they don't really give many 10 out of 10s out unless it is like one of those type of games. Like they do have like
4 of them, I think.
Yeah, they do this year probably. Then they do like a full-on internal discussion and such, and that this is their first 10 out of 10 for a VR game, I think. Apart from maybe Half-Life,
but I've got Alex one. Did.
Yeah,
it's her first Quest 10 out of a 10.
Yeah. So that speaks for itself, you know, as well. But I see a lot of stuff on the Twitters of people not liking the graphics, thinking this is bad, the combat's not great, the traversal's not great, you know?
Where I notice the graphics being poor is when you're riding the bird and you look at the feathers and you can tell the feathers are just one big texture or whatever. Like that's where it stands out. But you're not meant to be looking down on the bird because when you're on the bird, it's the cutscenes, so you're watching the cutscenes. So
that's fair. Yeah, and then I think some people said that the first couple hours or so to the game is like a bit of a drag and all that stuff, and it really opens up later on. I mean, that's similar to Assassin's Creed. Is the first 2 hours is very tutorial kind of heavy, which you kind of need to get used to the parkour, but then it does really get into its own later on. But have you found the first 90 minutes to be a drag? I guess you really enjoyed it, right? So you didn't really find that.
I wouldn't call it a drag, but I can tell I'm learning. It's teaching me new things.
Yeah. And I guess in this massive RPG, there's always so much to learn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'd be the one to keep coming back to it, or?
Well, we'll see. I'm having fun so far.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not keen that I finish this game, but we'll see how long. Really, what? I do 90-minute to 2-hour sessions. It's like 30 to 40
like 30
of them.
Sessions, yeah. Like it's like a 60-hour game, right? So that's 30. That's a good month of VR if you just plan to not play.
Yeah, exactly. Else. So it's no time soon.
No.
But if I could get myself to come back twice a week, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. I've been playing not a lot, but I've been playing a bunch of Assassin's Creed still. Realized I wasn't as far as I thought I was. I think last time I said on the pod that I was at Ezio again. I actually wasn't. I had another Connor mission left to go, which was really fun because it was I can remember. I think I'm mixing it up. No, I did have the Connor mission.
It was nighttime.
Which is nighttime, which was pretty good. And then I went back to Ezio and we lit a bunch of fireworks off. We did our first like really stealth mission where it's like you can't get detected because if you do, then you have to start over again. Okay. Which is pretty easy, to be honest. But because the thing is with the guards, and it's the same with Assassin's Creed in general, is that when they spot you or look at you, like they have like a meter that spins,
and then you
gotta kind of get away. Yeah. And I feel like the meter might be a bit too like I'm right in front of them, and the meter's still going. It's like there should be some sort of like if you're right in front of them, they should just
be able to. Are you playing on hard?
I don't know. I must be playing on normal. I think I'm playing on normal. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I should change it because I think you can change like per level kind of thing. Yeah. Because I am finding it quite, especially in the Ezio one, I find it quite easy. I think the only times that I've died yeah, that's fair. The only times I've died is like right at the start when I was just still getting used to the parkour. But as I mentioned before, now the parkour is so easy and fluid to me. Now I get it, you know, and such. It's totally fine. So yeah, still really enjoying it. We're in Venice now with Ezio, and I've got to the point where you now have a choice to play this next mission with either one of those characters. because I'm on like memory 8, and you can select which one, and it feels like it's the last part of the game, but it can't be because that's only like
there's
4
15
hours.
or 16 missions.
Yeah, so I'm only on
You're
8
gearing up for the
missions, I
last,
think. 8 missions.
second half.
So I think I'm halfway through. So I'm at the point where you can choose between the 3, and go from there. So yeah, I'm excited. I might even play some more of it after we finish this part up tonight because I'm having a great time. But anyway, back to you.
Back to me. I guess I'll talk about Lego Bricktales. I finished the story, but I'm still only, I don't know, just over halfway done with the game, collectibles wise. I'm pretty certain there's no actual sandbox mode. All the pieces you unlock are cosmetic to yourself.
Oh, all right. Interesting. maybe it's missing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just in the settings somewhere potentially.
There are, I tried to look. I couldn't find one. I don't know. I enjoyed it. There are a few things I don't like. Like, there are a few times I got stuck because I knew where I had to be, but the build sign, like, symbol doesn't come up unless you re-talk to the character again. So, but there's no real, like, I guess you can always look at your wrist, but sometimes it's vague enough where you don't really know what to do.
Right.
Or exactly what to do. Anyway, and there are a few. I can't make a perch for the life of me. They got to be balanced, and my God, those ones. There were a few of those puzzles, were the building puzzles that stumped me for a while, and then a lot of the game time is just like doubling back and talking to somebody, having to go find 2 items that were in the previous room, bring them back to that person. Go back to that room. There's a few, like, there's like 5 power-ups or whatever that you unlock. It's a cute little story. It's funny. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed building the things. I'll probably go back and try to find most of the collectibles that I know I can kind of find. The puzzles are pretty. Some of the puzzles, I had to use this little brain of mine to solve a few of them. Yeah,
Nice.
I enjoyed it though. Yeah.
Is it a game that you'd recommend for like all ages? Or
yeah, if you're into Lego, I think you'll enjoy it. Just know what it is. You're not like getting in there and just building whatever the heck you want.
Yeah.
You can. There are a lot of liberties that you can take with a lot of these things that you're building, though. They do limit your number of pieces, but you can kind of build them in your own. I imagine there's a lot of different ways you could attack these puzzles.
And you can obviously play this mixed reality or in virtual reality, right? It's up to you.
Yeah, I mostly played in mixed myself.
Nice. Yeah, I think if I was to play this game, I'd probably play it into mixed. I just I don't know if I'd buy. I'm into the Legos, but like I would be more into if it was a themed one. Like if it was a Lego Star Wars kind of Bricktales, that would be fun.
You want some IP? See, I like that. It's like I like that it's the old school Lego. It's got pirates.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to spoil the rest of them, but it's got pirates.
You great cover that where you forgot what the rest of them were.
I mean, I don't really know. There's
Egypt
fine. One. Egypt.
We don't have to spoil it. That's in terms of me, that the Assassin's Creed is the only thing I've been playing. Like I said, was waiting for Asgard's Wrath, but it didn't download. I did, on a non-game sense, get sent a couple accessories from Kiwi. The first one is their battery strap, so I'll show it on the camera here. But for those of you on audio listeners, it's basically their elite battery strap, like the Meta's official one, but the Kiwi one. And I've been playing it exclusive. Sorry?
Been using it? You've been using it?
Yeah, I've been using it exclusively for Assassin's Creed today. I mean, I only got it, I came back yesterday, so I've only had it in possession for about a day now. And yeah, I've been using it. The battery life so far, I'm going to have to do more testing, but basically my Quest was at 70%, and it charged it up to full battery, and then the battery pack went down by half. So it was not a perfect 1-to-1, like 100% would be the full battery pack, but just from that initial looking at the battery test, basically 30% to charge it, the actual Quest, whilst it was on as well. It was half of the battery.
You'll finally be able to play a walkabout game.
Yeah, without needing to have an external battery pack and such. Initially, so the first thing that's good, because obviously with the Bobo, the issue with the battery is that it doesn't, not a big issue per se, but it just doesn't charge it whilst it's on, whilst you're
It
playing it.
keeps
It's
mine
just,
charged, Dan.
it keeps it charged, but it won't charge it like fully whilst
Yeah.
you're playing, right? Where mine, I was playing Assassin's Creed and I was up to 100%, with this battery thing, which is quite nice. It's really built really well as well. It's really nice. When I first put it on, I felt the weight quite a lot. But then after I adjusted the strap, it wasn't too bad. It makes you just really really want that pew leather, the a facial
Seeing it
cover,
in
like
tight.
yeah, you need that facial cover, man. Like when you have something like this. Initially, I think I did like an hour of Assassin's Creed, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't like it. I think it's a really good battery strap. If you're in the market for battery straps, this is by far one of the best. I mean, one of the only battery straps you can really get that actually works, to be honest. Um, but I don't know if battery straps are for me just because of how weighty they are. Okay, because it's
You don't
just,
like the counterweight.
yeah, I think I just like how the Quest is on light. I think it's light enough on my head. But when I played for the second time, just on my lunch break at work here, I was playing some more Assassin's Creed. I actually didn't mind it at all. It was actually weighted
You get
really
used to it.
nicely. So I think you just kind of get used to it. I'm intrigued when I go back to the Zyber one that I normally use. I have it here as well. How it feels in terms of comfort, but it's weighted pretty well, to be honest. You get used to it quite quickly. Now, I just realized that the second thing that they sent me is actually not announced yet, and it doesn't get announced till the 22nd. So I actually can't show you what the second thing is. However, um, on the actual battery strap, the cool thing about the battery strap is that for video watchers, you can see this magnetic charging point right here.
Mm-hmm.
So you could keep your battery strap plugged in whilst magnetically charging it somewhere else. And that's all I'll say about it, because I can't actually tell you what that second thing is, but you can try and read between the lines there. So I'll talk to you about the second thing next week because I realized I can't actually tell you. I have it right next to me. But I'm excited. The thing is, I told them to send it to the UK address because I was like, I'll be over here, so you
Yep.
might as well send it so I can try it. But I didn't realize they send me the second thing as well, and it's both of them together are so heavy. I think I might have to take some extra carry on just to bring it back home.
So you don't
they
have to
are
ship it. Yeah.
they are quite heavy, to be honest, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's my thoughts so far. I'll continue testing it. I'll probably make a YouTube video on it at some point. But I'll continue testing it and see how it performs. But so far, really liking it. Really liking it a lot. But yeah,
Nice.
over to you.
Dan, did you play any Racket Club, Dan?
I did actually, but this was probably more the beginning of the week. Actually, yeah, sometimes we get lost because we film on random days sometimes, and
Yeah.
I'm like, when did we play this and such? I did play Racket Club last Tuesday, I think. I did play a bunch of it, but I still haven't played online with people. I just play with the AI.
Yeah, I also only played the AI. I wasn't very good, and the AI kept beating me. So I decided to
Yeah,
try to be able to beat a little bit of the AI before I started playing humans.
fair
But I
enough.
really liked it, Dan. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I've loved Racket Club. I guess last week I think I spoke about it on the pod, but I guess you hadn't played it by then, right? So this
Yeah,
is your like first time. Did you play it in mixed reality as well?
I played solely in mixed reality, and I played outside on
Mm,
a little patio area that was pretty much exactly the size of the court.
that's
Yeah,
cool, right? I always find it cool with the ball just bouncing into your like patio or something and hitting the ground and such. And like this is super fun. And this is like what some of the fun AR gaming will be like in the future when we have more like AR only kind of headsets and such. Let's say those Ray-Ban glasses are
yeah,
allowed for AR, right? And you're playing some simple games like Racket Club that will work really well.
where it could just make the walls. Yeah. Yeah, the walls really when I was playing outside, the walls blended almost too well into the reality.
The reality, yeah.
Yeah, like I'd miss them. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. What else you been playing?
So then a few games got some updates this week, Dan. So I got into the Smash Drums 90s DLC.
The
It's
punk.
fantastic. It's got some Blink 182 and some
Mm,
from some 41,
21,
and
yeah.
there's a bunch of three or four others. I
Yeah.
love them. I played them all. They're all great. They're pretty hard. Some of them are pretty hard. There's a lot of
Yeah.
real fast ones, you know.
Nice.
But
I
yeah,
have it.
really
I have it
enjoyed
as
that.
well. I just totally forgot about it. Actually, I need to get into that. Yeah, that might be my tomorrow on my to do list. But yeah, no. When I saw those bands, because like the 70s and the 80s was cool because they're finally getting licensed. But these are the typical songs on those licensed ones that I like hear when I'm in a pub in England now, and all those stuff like the old stuff, right? But seeing the '90s stuff, it's like, oh, okay, this is now my era. This is like where we grew up, kind of things.
Yeah.
I know we have some older listeners, and I apologize for making you sound old or anything like that. I just mean now it's more relatable to me. Where I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get to play a Blink
Next one's
song,
going to
which
be
is
2000.
great.
So
Yeah, then I'll start
that's my
feeling me
bet.
old when it's
That's my bet.
Did they have Green Day in it as well, or I don't know if they
I
have Green
don't.
Day in it.
I don't think so.
I feel like they're missing
I don't
that.
recall the other ones exactly, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's cool.
yeah.
That's nice. Is the environments different in that one, or is it all the same?
I do not really recall.
That's fair enough.
All right, here we go. Jimmy Eat World, Sweetness, Ramon, Blitzkrieg, Bop, Sum 41, Fat Lib, Blink 182, All the Small Things, All American Rejects, Move Along.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Very well. Very well. Very well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
All right, Breachers released their new map, Arctic. It has snow, as you might expect. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got 3 floors really, and the bottom they get progressively more claustrophobic, if you will, as you go up. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't really know it yet too well, but it's always nice to have a new map. And the breachable walls this time are made out of, oh god, what's that Pink Panther stuff that goes in the walls? Insulation. They're insulation walls.
I would have not got that from the Pink Panther stuff, but I understand now what you mean when she said it. Yeah, fair enough. Nice.
Yeah, recommend. Next up, Dan, got into some Dungeons of Eternity. Guess who I got in with, Dan?
Live open mic?
Nah, I got in with Jenna and Bacardi.
Nice.
So they have holiday cosmetics. There's a Christmas update in Dungeons. And so now there's a Christmas tree. There's decorations everywhere. There's snowballs you can throw. There's ornaments you can throw. It is incredible. There's special Christmas chests where you can unlock cosmetics and Christmas weapons. There's now difficulties you can select. Jenna is a group leader, I think. So, and there's room codes now. A room code. You can just be like, hey, meet me in room blank. And then everybody types in room blank and meets you in room blank.
Nice. So
we tried the hardest level difficulty first. It was insane. Like it was so basically how it worked. All the dungeons felt pretty similar, other than on the hardest difficulty there was a new type of enemy that was definitely harder. He throws things at you, but the boss was a bullet sponge. We went through like 3 invisibility potions, and Jenna and I were just unloading arrows into the sky over and over. I thought it was bugged, Dan. I thought it was bugged as how many bullets this guy took. But we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. And then we tried difficulty the 3, 4, and 5. Nice. I think 5 was the recommended one, and that was probably the best one, I'd say. So good recommendation, game. Good recommendation.
Yeah, it's currently 30% or 35% off or something like that on the sale. Maybe I'll pick it up just in anticipation of that arachnophobia mode coming in the summer.
I'm
Or maybe I'll
level
just wait till then.
39 now. I think I made it up to 39 yesterday.
Nice. Is there
And
a max?
A lot more.
Is there a max level? Do you know?
Yeah,
or?
50. Yeah,
50. Well, yeah, real close. Real close.
Yeah. Now I got Santa's shoes, Dan. I got red pants. I got Santa's jacket. I need the hat, though. I need the hat.
Yeah, if without the hat, you're nothing. You're better off getting the
Don't
hat
call me
without
nothing.
anything else.
Don't call me nothing.
Moving right along.
Then I got into Thumper. I played the first 2 levels of Thumper as well. Just a simple sitting rhythm game. Real nice. They're coming out with I don't know if it's a sequel, but the studio's doing now a VR first game. This game, I guess, was flat and then brought to VR. And at the Game Awards, they showed off a new coming game, so I wanted to play Thumper. I'm enjoying it. It's pretty fun. I like rhythm games, though. And yeah, so looking forward to next week, though. I'm playing Rooms of Realities, that escape room game. I'm playing that tonight, so stay tuned next week to hear about that.
I own that. It's on my Quest, and I should try it. Or can you play? I guess you can technically play it on your own.
I believe so. Yeah, you can try to escape alone, I imagine.
Yeah, because I'm like, time zones are all over the place when you're in the UK here. But I was going to say the other thing that we forgot to mention with Asgard's Wrath. It looks like, and we might find out before next week's podcast, but it looks like there might be a Quest 3 like graphics and textures update coming up real soon. Because the Asgard's Wrath 2 kind of is the exact same version as the Quest 2 version, which is really odd, considering it's all packed in as the Quest 3, but at the same time, not many people are going to notice any difference unless they have both headsets side by side. But apart from the only difference is that the Quest 2 one is 72 hertz and the Quest 3 one's 90 hertz. The only difference. But yeah, they said like a bunch of textures and such are potentially coming soon. I mean, I think what I heard is
I think it'll be after the Christmas break.
It's kind of being announced, soon. So it'll be interesting to see, and see what the difference is between them two. And the other thing is also Xbox Game Pass got released. Samson, you tried that out, right?
I did.
Yeah. And so just before you say what your thoughts were, so for those of you who don't know, Game Pass is out as a beta at the moment. You can only use the Xbox controller and the Switch controller and a PS4 controller. You can't pair up the PS5 controller, which is devastating because that's the only ones I have in this house.
I think somebody on Twitter I saw tried and it was successful, but they did say it's not supported. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if it's like it has compatibility issues with certain games or something. Maybe I should try it because I have a couple PS5 controllers here as well, so maybe I can see if I can try it out. But yeah, it's out right now. Obviously, you need the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, which is I think around $16, $17 a month. It's the highest tier, anyway. But Samson, continue. How was your experience with it?
Yeah. I played, I think, about 30 minutes of Gears of War and didn't notice any latency issues that hindered my gameplay, I guess. I mean, they're obviously there. But I enjoyed it, Dan, but it looks 1080p, you're like, oh, this looks good, but it doesn't look as good as playing on a monitor, obviously. So I think if given certain situations where your TV is used and you have the internet cable, I do have really, like, my router is right here, Dan.
Yeah.
So when I'm playing, I'm literally right next to it. And I think it was doable. I could, in theory, play Xbox without owning an Xbox. And I think that potential's out there for other people. But I don't think it sounds like, given your internet situation, that you'd be able to do this.
I was about to say, I feel like I shouldn't try it until I get back into
I feel like you should, because you got to give the bad experience a try.
Tell you the worst conditions possible.
See if it even works.
Yeah, you know what? I'll see. I'll download it and see if I can pair that PS5 controller up to it. But But yeah, otherwise I'll just have to wait until they're supported because I don't really want to get an Xbox controller just for this, especially if it's not something I'm going to play often. I think it's a cool idea if it works.
They're cheap.
I was, I was excited for it. I mean, if one day I do get that Steam Deck, then obviously the Xbox controller or something can come along with it. But I think for this, I'm not sure if I want to invest in it too much until it is solid. But did you play it in virtual reality?
$25.
Did you play it in virtual reality or was it mixed or?
I did. Apparently you can play in mixed reality, but I didn't really know how to switch it into it, and I was just playing in the green Microsoft room.
Fair, because I was wondering if in mixed reality it will look a little bit better compared to like being with that screen in virtual reality, and the virtual reality is probably sharp. You can kind of tell the difference quite a bit. But then having it in mixed reality where it's a bit grainy and such, then the image will look just looks better in general compared to your background. So maybe that will, play a mind trick on you where it goes, okay, this looks pretty solid. So yeah, I guess the problem with that resolution is that if the screen's too big, then it just isn't that enjoyable, and you kind of want to reduce the size. So yeah,
I preferred playing on the third largest screen. I think they're the second to the biggest or whatever.
So you couldn't just like drag it how much you want. It was like fixed points.
You on your wrist, yeah. There's like 5 settings you can select.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, interesting. I'm dying to try it out. It's just I'll see if the PS5 controller can work. Anything else, Samson, you've been playing before we go to Richie?
Did I mention TrackCraft last week, Dan?
I don't remember. Last week was a long time ago.
I played a little bit of TrackCraft. It's pretty cool. It's a point A to point B, and you take your car across various.
I've seen a lot of people playing this
and all that.
To be honest, it's like a Hot Wheels kind of feel.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't play much of it. I want to hop in more. It's something I feel like you hop in, try to do a few levels, maybe beat some high scores. And you don't play it on for hours on end like you would.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's a mixed reality as well, right? TrackCraft.
Completely in mixed reality. Well, I think you can play in VR, but it boots in AR.
Nice. Fair enough. Excellent. Anything else, Samson? You got that list keeps on growing and growing.
Dan, that's all.
That's all, folks. That's all. I mean, now that the question is, now that your back has been out, will the next week be full of just pure seeded games?
No, I'll be back. It's getting better already.
It's getting better already. Yeah, nothing's going to falter the VRing over the holidays. But anyway, that will do for part 1. Like I said, in part 2, I will be gone, but Samson will still be here in different attire, speaking to Richie about the new DLC and the new game that they're working on all of the above. And I'm assuming you spoke about all this stuff because I haven't seen it yet.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
Welcome back to part 2 of Let's Talk Oculus, where I have swapped out Dan for none other, I think I traded up, Richie from Richie's Plank Experience. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. What a treat.
All the way from Australia, so time zones are a fun thing. Evening for me, good morning to you.
I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
All right, so let's start at the beginning, if you don't mind. And could you talk a little bit about the origin of Richie's Plank Experience?
Sure. So my wife and I were in between jobs. We were ex-travel industry. I had done a few startups. I was actually working on a a lawn mowing company at the time where I was mowing lawns, but also it was like Uber for lawn mowing.
Okay.
And
so like I'd call up if I needed my lawn mowed and you shoot on over?
Not even call up. Use your phone to book it. Just text a message and it'll give you a rough price. And we did like 1,000 lawns in the first year, but then we realized how much extra work it was. Wasn't going how we were hoping.
Gotcha.
We went on our honeymoon around the same time in Japan, and we tried out VR there for the first time. Ooh. And we're like, ooh, this is like a window of opportunity. I'd been making games as a hobby for like 20 years or so. Yeah. But never professionally. But I was average. I was decent at the time, and I was a software developer. So I did know how to code.
Were you making mobile or just computer or just nothing ever
PC.
Really came to fruition? Okay.
PC. And yeah, so I was a software developer, so it wasn't like I was a total rookie at coding or anything. So it did mean I had developer art. But yeah, we made the Plank experience, the first version. We weren't the first to ever do a Plank experience. That was like a Bandai Namco did a tech demo Plank thing. So we had a bit of inspiration from that, but shout out to them. Then we added a heap of features that we knew would be important. And we thought, okay, Tony, my wife, and I, she's like, oh, if we get 1,000 sales by Christmas, we'll keep going with it full time. And yeah, did like 1,000 sales in the first weekend on Steam.
Holy smokes. So, yeah, because you released December of that for 2017, was it?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah. Okay, 2016. Yep, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, it's still slow on, it was slow on Steam because there wasn't many headsets out there compared to today. And yeah, haven't looked back. We've been working on the Plank, doing updates, recent updates last month ever since.
Do you see an increase? Because I'll say Richie's Plank experience is a very good starter experience for those not afraid of heights. In that there's no controller moving. It's all room scale and all that. And it's very immersive. Oh my gosh, my preamble. I've forgotten my question now. All right. That'll come back to me.
I think I know. I think I understand the question.
Okay, go for it.
I think it was going to be, have you seen sales increase as the headset
yes,
increase?
Exactly. So when Quest 2 came out and when Quest 3 came out, did you see, and Quest 1, I guess, did you see peaks and valleys?
Yeah.
They're kind of like that? Okay.
It's nearly like a one-to-one. We probably have the same growth charts. Obviously, they have crazy. The bigger scale, but we have, as the headset sales increase, our sales increase, and it's quite consistent.
Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, so when the Quest 2 came out, it was like, whoa, what the... This is amazing. It was like, in a few months, we had as many sales on the Quest as we had in the entire life of the Rift.
Oh, smokes. And I assume you didn't change your marketing budget or anything. It's sort of just, was it all like word of mouth that it just took off?
We've been pure word of mouth. We do have some marketing professionals that help with us now. Mm-hmm. But for a long time, it was just word of mouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Yeah. I hope it continues with every Quest.
So I guess I want to touch on what you said. It's a great first-time experience. Mm-hmm. And I will say I agree, but only if you follow the safety guidelines.
100%.
And yeah, because it is ridiculously intense. I mean, we designed it specifically to be the most intense feeling you can get in the shortest possible time. And so we get a lot of critique from that. When people buy games, they often measure the game in, okay, what's my playtime for hourly playtime for the amount of dollars I spent? Mm-hmm. Right? That's how game designers design their games. What's the best value we can get for the longest amount of time? But we designed ours as what's the best value you can get in the shortest possible time. And so we get a lot of critique, 1-star reviews saying it was over quickly. 1 star, it's a tech demo. I'm like, that's because we designed it this way. Like,
Because it was on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, the reason is when you're starting out, you don't want time wasted learning controls and Richie's Plank is brought out when there's groups of people over, because the biggest entertainment comes for those watching those that are walking the plank. So if it's like Christmas party or a birthday party and someone brings the plank out, everyone stands around watching. You don't get that.
Right.
Unfortunately, because the way games work, you don't get that with other games. But with this, everyone's like, oh, how's Auntie Jo going to react? Quick, go get her. And then everyone stands around watching. So, and that's why it's so tempting, especially for young people, and just some people feel compelled to touch and push the person in there.
Oh, don't do it. Yeah.
And that's why one of the strict rules is strict, heavily enforced, no touching and pushing.
Yeah, you just have somebody there for support, right? Like in case they lose balance, that type of deal. But I can't.
Do spotters the support and tell them not. If they say, "Can I jump?" you say, "No, you can step off."
Oh my god! I did see on your website you have a really nice how to use a real plank whole description, and a couple things on that stood out to me, like putting it on sponges so that when you step down on the plank, you actually feel like it. You feel it move ever so slightly, and I really want to try this now.
I'm like, I nearly want to say it's twice as good if you use a real plank, because when you do the plank, it's like bungee jumping and skydiving. The similar feelings happen for most people. It's like your brain knows you're safe. Like it lists the logic that says you're safe. Oh, I'm in a living room. I'm wearing a headset. I can't die. I'm safe, right? And same with bungee jumping. This giant elastic band that could hold an elephant is going to make me safe. And you say that to yourself, and same with the parachuting. But your heart is going, get the beep out of here. We're going to die. And so there's a conflict in the mind, and they're fighting each other, and your brain has to consciously override your heart
100%.
So that your legs will start working, and you can see that happen for people. But yeah,
I've seen you've recently put a few YouTube videos on the Toast Interactive YouTube channel of you. Was it you going into like a town or something and offering people $50 to walk the plank? That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'd always wanted to do it just to see what happens. We kind of thought everyone would be like, get away from me, weirdo. But no, because it was in our local little town and our local suburb, and we went to 2 locations, and both locations were great. At one point, there was I think the second last lady. It was Halloween, and so we're like, oh yeah, let's just make it fun for Halloween. And there was a lady. She did the strongest emotion. She took like over 10 minutes to walk the plank, and she was great. She trooped through, but I was so focused on her, making sure she's safe with the other spotter. After she finished, I turned around. There was a giant line down the street. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You couldn't see it on the camera. But
that's crazy.
It was actually our last one. But most of them were like teenage boys. And I'm like, oh no. Because I know that teenage boys.
Things will get out of hand.
Because when I was that age, I was the same. You always have to put on a brave front. And it just overrides any other emotion, like very easily. And so I knew they were just going to milk. They were there to milk the cash, and I'm like, no.
These pockets aren't endless. Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't just start discriminating, saying no. So I would have had to just honor what we were doing, but luckily it was the last one, and someone begged, and I'm like, okay, we'll do one more. But it started pouring, so we had to pack it all up and run out of there. Yeah.
you made me want to do that locally for sure. I don't know that I like. You need people though. I'd need to like recruit at least 1 or 2 friends. You know, a safety person, a cameraman, etc. But it does.
You need some help.
It does look
to
cool,
get the camera angles as well, because the headset blocks your face. You can't get the emotion, so you kind of have to tilt upwards to get their mouth, and you can see the emotion through their mouth. But it's hard to do when you buy you need 2 spotters to start with, the Mike from VR Oasis did it when the Quest came out, and he just did it on the spare of the moment on the streets of London.
Wow!
And it's had millions of views now.
I'm gonna have to go check that video out.
Yeah, check it out. You might get some inspiration.
Yeah, he definitely likes to go. Mike puts forth the effort to go into really put effort into those videos.
Yeah. I think it's still his most watched video.
So I will say, I bought Richie's Plank when I first got my Quest 1, I believe. Maybe my Quest 2.
Thank you. It's fine.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I was blown away. Like these people we've been talking about. I stepped in and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I've recently hopped in to test out the mixed reality mode, which we'll get into in a bit. But I hopped in, I went up to the top, and I'm so used to VR now. I'm completely numb. It was crazy. It was so crazy to me.
I totally agree. And that's unfortunate for the people that own the headset for a few years before buying Richie's Plank, because oh, what? What's everyone got? These reactions must be fake. But I think, do you know how we were saying that? I was saying that there's that battle between the heart and mind. I think as you get used to VR, your mind gets more and more used to VR not being the real world.
Exactly.
And therefore that battle has become totally overridden by the brain.
Like I need to find new ways to like seek it. So like using the jet and flying around as opposed to, that type of stuff. But I was really shocked at how different, because I remember how I felt before those first times doing it. And I was like, wow, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but I've been in there so long, so many testing, so many versions and ports and updates. I'm so used to it. But now when I'm around real heights, like if I am in a top floor balcony or at a balcony on a building, I get scared now. And
really?
Yeah. And I never really used to do much. But I think now it's because I don't trust myself, because I'm so used to stepping off. I'm like, oh no, what if I have a brain fart and I quickly
you think you're in VR?
I'm like, that's what I'm scared of, myself thinking it's too casual. So
it's nightmare fuel right there. That'd be like a good horror movie of somebody thinking they're in a VR world where they're actually in real life, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mentioned it. Can we talk a little bit about the mixed reality mode? What brought that to the game and inspired it? I guess.
Yeah. So I would say I agree with the bad reviews in the past of the plank setup is awkward, because you can't see your real plank at the same time as your fake plank. So you'd have to peek underneath and check and use your feet to check that you've got it lined up perfectly by feeling with your feet. But now with the mixed reality pass-through, it's like a transparent overlay. So you can just look down and there's these flag poles that you move around to get the ends of the plank and the width. And it's like it's like a kid's toy. You just have to, it's very intuitive. You just have to drag them and it's transparent overlay your real world. So you can see exactly how to set up the plank. So now it's like, oh my goodness, this is so much easier than it used to be.
Yeah, that's good friction to remove.
Yeah, so to me that was the main addition. Me personally, it's just it's a joy to set up. The rest, we did a bunch of experiments in cooperation with Meta about the mixed reality tech, and some of them didn't make the cut. We didn't think that was good enough to go in the game. And the other one was that magic elevator, where the elevator appears in your play space. And so that's a little addition. Yeah. So let me ask then, would you long term, I guess, because the novelty might wear off on that, but long term, do you imagine using that or the city?
Well,
as the main...
like the Canyon one or the mixed reality?
Like the mixed reality, the elevator in the living room or elevator in the city on the ground floor?
Yeah. On the ground floor, I like the mixed reality. I like that feeling because it helps with the immersion, in my opinion. You're going from your real world into this elevator and then appearing in this virtual world. So it's like it's more selling the, my brain on the I'm leaving my real world here in this elevator. And the elevator looks really real. Like, you nailed the elevator. The reflection. I got up close on this elevator wall. You can see like fingerprints on it. It's wild. Yeah. The detail.
I remember our artist putting them in. I was like, yes, Danny, that's it.
And it's got the classic elevator music.
Oh yeah. So Tony spent a long time picking that music, and it was worth it.
So you just go to all the elevators.
It's things like that. A lot of game developers and artists, when they add a new thing, they want it to be obvious, and it's sometimes a battle. It needs to be subtle, because if it's obvious, I don't know. I think it's better being subtle, so you can barely see it.
Yeah,
and that way,
they're definitely very good. The positives that are like they're so subtle. They're things that you see in your normal life that you don't even think about that make it way more immersive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other subtle things you'd like to point out other than the fingerprints?
Yep. As you get to the end of the plank, some out of tune violin starts playing.
Ooh.
There's as you walk the plank, there is a constantly escalating heart rate.
Okay. Wow, that's really subtle, because I don't think I noticed that one.
No, it's I guess that one's designed to subliminally make you think it's your heart rate increasing.
That must have taken a lot of playtesting to get it just right.
Yeah. When you're falling, there's the flapping of clothing in the wind increasing in intensity and pitch. It gets faster and faster. Yeah, actually not pitch, just increasing in speed.
Okay.
So it's faster, so it makes you feel like you're getting faster. And that's on there with the flying as well. When you're flying around in the superhero modes, that flapping sound gets faster when you get faster as well. Yeah.
And I will say, while we're on this, the plank creaking is a really nice touch too.
Yeah. There's like multiple triggers along the plank, and as you move across them, it has a random chance of triggering it. Yeah. Okay, so if you're walking slowly, the creaks will be slow. If you're walking fast, the creaks will be fast. Yeah.
Oh man. I did really like those creaks. But those are some really cool little things to notice for when you're all out there playing Richie's Plank.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, those polished things were actually always in there from the very first version. But I don't know, if you search for Richie's Plank then and now, or before and after, or something like that, you'll see how it looked with my developer art at the start and how it looks now. Because we hired proper artists to do a good job, and it's embarrassing how bad my art was back then.
What was that process like? Like changing? I assume you had to change out a lot of the art, from what it sounds like.
So everything has been. Yeah. Sorry, go.
No, go. Was that done in like one big update, or did you slowly change out assets? Or
yeah, there was the biggest jump would have been from when I did the art. to when we hired our first artist. And he was great. It was a big jump at that point. And ever since then, there's been multiple iterations over the years. Most recent one last month, which did like a realism pass, where we took the worst 20 things for realism and swapped them for something better.
How did you come up with that list?
Just comparing to photographs.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the easiest thing to do. So we found photographs, Google image search, and then find similar images. And most of those photos came from people taking photos of cities with a drone or over the edge of a building to make it look scary. And one of the hardest things to get right is the color difference between dark shadows and bright highlights. And so it's just getting that, because the real world has in daylight, in the real world, there's such intense difference between the darks and the brights.
Yeah,
and it's really hard for us we have to fake it in order to get close to that. And we don't even get close, but it's when we figure out how to, then it works a bit better. So,
does Richie's playing, I don't want to say a better experience, but is there a difference between the PC, Steam or Rift Store version and the standalone version? Or are those getting closer?
Yeah, if you're listening to this, you can do a quick evaluation yourself. I think if you search for Richie's Plank Quest Realism Update, hopefully there's a screenshot, maybe images, maybe it's not on the Google search results yet. Oh yeah, you can see there's a 2x2 grid. It's on Reddit. Is the Quest City catching up to PC? So you can see what it looks like on PC, and you can see what it looks like with the Quest 2 and 3 at the moment, and you can see how it started. Maybe you can throw it on the screen if you have a YouTube video for them.
I'll have Dan do that in the post.
Sorry, Dan, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I made some work for you.
No, he loves it. He loves it.
Okay.
But let's talk more about the recent update that came with the DLC.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Okay, sure. So it was like 3 different things coming all in at the same time, and it wasn't on purpose. So we knew the mixed reality was a feature that was going to be coming out next gen for the Quest 3. So we're like, okay, we better start working on an update for that. And that was a while ago. So that was coming out. And then we knew online you could see all the discussions about games getting their Quest 3 graphics update. And we were like 2 weeks out from release, and we hadn't done our Quest 3 graphics update. And then we had this DLC, which we were charging for. And we're like, oh my goodness, it hit me like a brick wall. We're going to get brutalized in reviews.
That's some good foresight.
We're going to get demolished. So we got this free mixed reality update, but I'm like, it's not good enough to cover. It's because our city doesn't look any better.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm cringing because I'm like, the city's not looking good anymore compared to what's capable. And I'm like, and a lot of it was limited from the Quest 1 graphics. So I'm like, okay, we need to cut off the Quest 1. That we can't keep affording to improve that one.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot we can do for Quest 3 and a lot we can do for Quest 2. So we're like, let's do it. So we rallied together. I stopped working on our next title called Max Mustard. I came back onto the Quest City, and we just did as much as we can to get that looking a lot better.
And
I think it does. So we got it out in time to be a free update as well. So I think, there's still a couple of people that were like, how dare you charge for a DLC? But
of course,
I think it's because they didn't realize we had updated the free updates came out at the same time. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them for thinking that. It's just, we can't complain that they didn't read the description of what we updated, because we know people just don't read the stuff. They just
yeah.
They see the title, make assumptions, and yeah.
I see. So it was because it was all packaged in one update. People were like, they thought they had to pay for the DLC to get the updated graphics, or just didn't realize that.
Correct. They didn't realize. Yeah.
I got you.
And so there's no hard feelings there. And same, like if you're not sure of Richie's Plank, first of all, we don't recommend people buy it if they're just buying it for themselves, because if you're a VR veteran, you're probably not going to be that scared, because it's easy for your brain to be like, it's not real.
Yeah.
But if you plan on using it on your friends and family and set up a real plank from the hardware store, any dimensions, I'm like, give it a go. And if your auntie or uncle or mum or dad or grandparent even don't get scared, then just ask for a refund. Follow the safety. We don't want grandpa to have a fall.
Yeah. Support people in this experience. Don't push them. Make it unsafe.
Yes, but yeah, there was never any hard feelings if you request a refund. So if you don't think it's going to give the results that you're after, or if you accidentally bought it for yourself and was disappointed, then no hard feelings.
I do think it is a great game for the holidays. You're going to see family members. Maybe they've tried VR. Maybe they've heard of it. They've seen an ad for the Quest 3 online or on TV. And if there's a few people around, hey, auntie, can you help be a support person? Somebody else be a support person, and boom, get a cycle through everybody. It's weird to say that a single player game is a good group experience, but it is.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a multiplayer game, but if you're in a room and want to maintain the party, for a moment of time until everyone's done it. I've been to parties with 30-something people, and all of a sudden everyone's like in a big circle around. I'm like, this is totally did not expect this to be coming. And it was like a big birthday. It was like someone's 50th birthday party. And I was just meant to show, I don't know, one of the cousins quickly in the corner. And the next minute, and I'm like, I feel like I've hijacked the party. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. And the birthday man was like, no, this is awesome. Keep going. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, it's things like that make you think like, wow, could I just show off VR like once a week at an event and get paid for this? Oh God, I would love it. There's a VR arcade near me that I've recently found, and I would go volunteer a lot to just show up.
That's awesome.
And he knows me, and if people come in looking for help, I just help out, and it's a good time.
That's so good of you.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Man, not every hero wears a cape, Samson. You're spreading the good word.
Yeah, I love VR, and I love sharing people's first VR experiences, and that's only going to get rarer and rarer as time goes on.
Yeah,
there's a lot of kids in Quests, and they're not going to be impressed with VR.
No. Once everyone's tried it, I think that's when our sales will be dead.
When it's the norm, yeah.
The last person to own a headset will turn up to a party and go, guys, you should try this headset out. It's awesome. In 2035 or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We've all done it. We've all...
Yeah,
you're late, mate.
Richie's Plank Experience 5.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so with the Canyon, do you have plans for further support for new environments, or
there's discussion about it? There's discussion, and however, we've tried many other environments in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Canyon was close to being as good as the city, but still not as good. I still personally think the city is the best, rawest experience.
I think I agree. But like I said, I sort of lost that.
And the Canyon is a good variation, and it might work better on some people. But so those two were clear standouts, clear winners. Anything else we tried just wasn't as good. And so then we have a question, and then it just comes down to thinking about the user. And if the user is people who haven't used much VR before, they don't own the game, and they're in there, they sometimes struggle to find the elevator button. And it's just where you would normally expect to see an elevator button in an elevator. If now they're presented with options,
it gets confusing.
What's this menu? What do I do with this menu? And now there's a new UI system for them to be confused by. And then let's say there's like 5 options, right? Now there's only a 20% chance that they pick the best one.
True.
And so like, no, we want it to be like 90% chance they're going to pick the best one. So, so there's that, but also I'm a believer in be the best in the world at one thing. So focus on being the best at one thing. And so if we spend, say, 10 hours, if we spend 100 hours on a new environment, that 100 hours would have been better spent on making the city better.
Right.
And that's just, I guess, my business philosophy.
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
For sure. And I like the two environments that exist now. So you mentioned something in that Richie's doesn't have a UI really, like a menu. So for the listeners, when you boot up Richie's Plank Experience, you're in the elevator, correct? Or
no, so there is a UI to get you into the city, because the UI is for agreeing to the end user license agreement and the safety messages, and that's essential. A lot of those. Yeah, it has to be. Sorry, and then there's the option: do you want to set up a real plank or not?
Yep. And
if you don't set up a real plank, you're just straight into the city. But otherwise, then you get presented with that fun golf. They're like golf flags, and you move them around.
Setting them around.
Yeah, and then you're in. But
I do like that first, the end license agreement. You're in this sort of this white room that it reminds me of, I don't know, like a TV show where you're just secluded, and I kind of liked it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It felt the vibe of a user agreement.
It was meant to be, I guess it was meant to be subliminal of a basement car park, but it's a bit too bright for that. Yeah. We didn't want it to be dark and gloomy. So it kind of morphed into this hybrid thing.
Makes sense. Should we move on to talk about the future of Toast Interactive? So you have a new game coming out sometime in the future. Max Mustard?
Yeah. I just want to say I'm excited about the future of VR. And we, Samson, get to live at the first moment in time where VR was first introduced to the world as a consumer product.
It's incredible.
I don't know how old you are, but I got to live through the internet being born as well, and I'm like, oh my god, what a privilege! When I'm like a granddad, I'll be telling my grandkids, back in my day, we didn't have the internet, and they're not going to care. They're just going to think, oh wow, you are old. But what I really should be saying is, I got to experience life before and after, and that's quite a profound moment that only a small group of people got to do. And the same with VR. If you think the logic paths now, it's going to be around for the rest of human civilization, in some form or another. It may not ever go mainstream, everyone walks around with it in their pocket. I think it will. But it doesn't matter. It will be around forever now. And it will outlast every other screen that we know in some way, and now these are things that I don't think will happen in my lifetime, but ultimately it will come down to a pair of glasses, and that will be overlaid and it will be either full VR or not. But when we get it down to that, it'll replace our phones, because your phone screen will just be your hand. You just put your hand up, oh yeah, boop, boop, if you wanted it like that. It will be things like your computer screens, and this is the tech Apple Vision Pro wants to do. Instead of sitting at your messy desk with a computer big screen, you'll sit at your desk and there'll be the Apple Vision Pro headset there, and you'll open it up and you'll put it on, and your big, wide 200-inch 8K screen will be in front of you. And in the side will be a little TV screen with Netflix, and then, I don't know, they can even do that on a flight, at the desk at work, at the desk at home. I mean, their headset probably is too uncomfortable to wear for 8 hours, I imagine. But
yeah, it's heavy.
This is the first gen, and so eventually it'll be down to contact lens size screens.
100%.
And then if what they say is true with connecting direct to the brain, it'll just skip the eyes, and it'll be a little and so anyone that says, "Oh, the screens aren't good enough," I'm like, you won't. Outside of my lifetime, in 1,000 years, I don't know how long, it's just inevitable. They won't need the eyes. You'll just close your eyes, and it'll be the screens. Anyway, getting a bit off topic. I'm just excited that we get to experience this first, and we'll have the most rapid growth of tech, because it's a new tech, and every year it's just getting significantly better. And after that, it's just going to then there will be this 20% better, then 10% better, and then over the years, just like regular tech, it will just get amazingly better over time. So we're at the point where it's like, whoa.
Exactly. Yeah, that form factor has to get better. But I think of it, this is before my time, but computers in the 70s and 80s, when they started to they were really big, right? And they started to kind of come down to consumer sizes. And that's sort of where I see VR. I'm just like, all right, yes, it's too big for most people now, but I can see it getting there. I see the utility and how much fun it is. And I
don't think it's too big for most people now, except if you want it for 8 hours.
Facts. Yeah, true.
Yeah, if you're someone that wants 8-hour gaming sessions, I mean, it might. I don't know. Some people do it. Hardcore gamers will fight through it, and they'll have the strongest neck muscles in the world. But I'm talking about if you need a relaxing work environment, 8 hours is definitely too long for most people. Yeah. So, but for playing games, that's where that's where it's at the moment. And I know about you, I still think the Quest 2 and 3 is the best value headsets out at the moment.
It's what I recommend.
And if you're like a parent or someone thinking about one of them as a gift, I'm like, as a developer, the Quest 2, there's so many of them out there. Our games are going to support Quest 2, I don't know.
For a bit. Yeah.
At least another 5 years. I reckon it will outlive the headset. Our support, not every studio will be like this, but our studio, I'm thinking our support for the Quest 2 headset will outlive. If you bought that Quest 2 today, we will support the games on there for longer than the headset will live for, I reckon.
Right.
If it's being used. And if it's not being used, you kind of won't care. So, so I still think it's a really good buy. The Quest 3 costs more. It will last longer. The screen's pretty amazing. The mixed reality. Clarity. Oh, it's so good. But both are amazing to me as gifts. Amazing value.
I'm at this hard point now because I'm always pushing VR on all my friends. And I recently put a friend in Microsoft Flight Sim and he loved it. And he's like, dude, he's a pilot. And he was like, dude, now I really want this.
Yeah.
And so he's actually been doing research on his own. And he was debating getting the Quest 2 for, the $250 or whatever, or the Quest 3, which is sort of out of his price range. and I was like, dude, the Quest 2 will get you by, and you'll be able to play your Microsoft Flight Sim, but this is like buying a PS4 a month or so after the PS5 comes out. Like, there's a reason it's cheaper, and if you can make it work, get the Quest 3. If you can't, get the Quest 2.
Yep. It's not quite as bad as buying a PS4 after the PS, because the games are cross-compatible.
No, that's true. That's true.
They're not on those. So
yeah,
devs would still release on the Quest 2, but there will come a year where that stops happening. Right. I just think it'll be a few years.
That does also kind of blow my mind with the Quest, where there are games that I bought on my Quest 1 that I still have and can use on my Quest 3. Like, that's never really happened with a console before. I mean, vaguely, but not really.
Super Hot.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of them.
Yeah. Beat Saber. Classics. So good.
Yeah. What actually, I usually at the start of the interview, I tried to learn about what you enjoy about VR, what got you into it, but I forgot. So, Lo, let's do that now. Like, what do you like to play in VR, and what got you into it?
I got so excited about talking about the future of VR, I forgot to bring up the next game we're working on. But let's circle back to that. So for me, there was a PC game called Out of Ammo, and it's a low poly military strategy game where you switch between top-down strategy and first-person, you're in the action. So you have a military base. It's all low poly. And it was like one of the first games out on PC for the HTC Vive. And you're getting overrun by tanks and infantry, little low poly characters, and you got to position yourself where to help out the most. So you could be on the front line throwing grenades and with a pistol, and you're like, oh my god, there's a tank coming behind us. So then you have to zoom out and choose. I'm then going the sniper turret now.
I got
and it gets sort of like frantic. A little bit, but you have to first person control, and I'm like, this is really good. And my brother and I were playing it, and I didn't realize he had it hooked up to his speaker system and not the headphones. So I cranked the volume, and he was taking his dog for a walk. And he came home, and he could hear the action from the street. And I was just fully... He walked in, and I'm there just going, ah!
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It was good memories. I spend far more time making the games than I do playing them. I play the boxing game, Thrill of the Fight, sometimes, half for fitness, half for fun. I'm excited for their sequel.
Yeah.
And it's such a good value game.
100%. That's one of the really good value games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried their mixed reality update?
Oh no.
That makes it makes boxing feel so much safer because you're not going to hit your wall. I feel myself throwing the punches a lot more.
I really hope they set up a way to map the chair in the corner.
So you can actually sit on a chair.
Yeah. Like I had a boxing coach for a little while, a real one that came to the house, and I put him in it one day, and he's like, the photo is this giant smile from ear to ear. And then the round finished, and he went to go sit on the little chair, and he sat on his bum quite roughly, and it was all fun and games. So I'm like, oh my goodness. And then the next day I put my uncle in it, and he did the same thing.
Wow.
And I'm like, this little chair in the corner. So they're like they're fit, but they're a bit older. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So they were all fine. Like they were
fully immersed.
Oh, and I'm like, that was 2 from 2. that one will just sit on their little, because I think they're puffed and they're distracted. You're exhausted and distracted.
Yeah.
And you've kind of not realized, and so I don't blame them at all. It's like, whoa. But I'm like, I want them to set up the chair
so you can actually set it up.
Chair. Yeah. And then I want the masseuse, the man with the water bottle, to come and give me a real water bottle.
Little spritz. Yeah.
Yeah. And an ice towel on my forehead just to help. No. So yeah, I spend 90% of my time making our next game called Max Mustard. And yeah, I guess I'll tell you a bit about that game.
Yeah, that's a great transition.
Have you seen the announcement trailer?
I did.
Yeah.
This is the one, just so to confirm, I've seen the one you're talking about. This is one where you start shooting a plunger at the...
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's a plunger gadget. It's hard to describe. The philosophy we have when making this game is every console has like a good platformer mascot, right?
100%.
And I'm like, VR doesn't have a platformer mascot yet. If we get in quickly and do a stand-up job, we have a small window of opportunity before the big dogs get involved, and we can create a really valuable platformer IP.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next challenge is, will a platformer work in VR? And PlayStation has proved yes with Astrobot. I don't know if you ever played that.
I have not had a chance, but I've played Moss and a bit of Lucky Steel.
So Moss is like a puzzle platformer, whereas Astrobot is like Mario action platformer. And to me, that's my personal preference. I much prefer Mario style games over puzzle games.
Mm-hmm.
And so Astrobot paved the path for high-end, high quality, like very high quality bar. And my opinion is platformers will only be bought by platforming fans unless it has an extremely high quality bar for it to break out into mainstream, where a lot more people want to buy it just because it's that good. Yeah. But if it's not that good, it will have mediocre sales because only platformer fans will buy it. So that's why we've spent so much time and money trying to make this game, because it's not cheap to do this. But that's why we're doing it. But we want to be the platformer IP before the big dogs get in.
Do you plan for this to be a cross-platform release?
Yeah, we'll release it on any headset that want us on there.
I like it.
Yeah. So just like, it's hard to describe, but if you've played a Mario game, it's platforming. You watch the Mario hero, and in our game, it's similar. You have a hero, and they run around doing the platforming, but every now and then you get a power-up, and that power-up is a first-person gadget. So you get this power-up.
Okay.
Yeah, like the plunger, and it gets presented, and you can reach out with your real hand and grab it, and now you're working together through some of the challenges. So you can use your plunger to hit targets, which trigger things to help you cross the bridge. And then another level, there's a super-powered vacuum, and use that to vacuum fans and balloons and make things move. And so you work together. But it's action, not puzzle. So
yeah, like Crash Bandicoot or something like this.
Yeah. But also every level is completely different. So in one level you'll be using the vacuum on the gadgets. Next level there'll be platforms that turn on and off and beat with the music called beatbox. And there's similar levels to that in Mario. And then we're like, what do we do for the music of beatbox? So there's a guy called Tom Thumb who is like the world's most famous beatboxer. He's got a TED Talk. I still think it's the most watched TED Talk ever. and he lives just like down the road from us in Queensland, in Australia. So I'm like, let's get him in. So he came and did the beatboxing tracks for our beatbox.
That's crazy.
Level. And then, like a level after that, you're jumping around with hot air balloons. It's like,
so it's like in typical Mario fashion. You're kind of going to different worlds almost. Yeah.
But that. So why do we do it that way? Because that's ridiculously expensive to do it this way. Because it's like making 40-something different games. Because every game needs its own mechanics coded, different graphics. We can't just reuse stuff all the time. Because when the level's done, we've got to throw it away. It's done. And they're like, why, Richard? This isn't how you're meant to do it. They tell me, and I'm like, yes, it is, because this game has to be amazing, and people need to finish it and so the levels are also designed to be fairly short, like under 10 minutes each, because once you finish one, you're like, all right, I want to see what they've done on this next level. And that way you won't ever, it's going to, so what I'm predicting is, well, what the test is also saying, it's hard to put down. Once you start, you want to keep playing. You're compelled to keep playing because, wow. It's
just one more level. Just one more.
Yeah, just one more level. That's it. That's what we want people to think. So, and it's not even just one more level. It's, I'll just have a quick look what they've done for the next one.
Right.
I'm run out of time. I'll just have a quick look,
and then before you know it, you're playing that level.
Yeah. And then it's like if you're into a really good TV series and it's like really solid, I'm often like, I'll have a quick watch of the next one.
Yeah.
And it's very late at night. I'm like, oh, I've got to go to bed. I'll just have a quick look what happens on the next one, and then I'm like, okay, I'm watching this one now, I guess.
Yeah, this phenomenon has recently hit me with Demio battles. Whereas I was like, all right, Demio battles, much shorter than a Demio game. Perfect. 15 to 20 minutes after every Demio battles game. I'm like, oh, let me try a different strategy. Oh, let me just try one more. And so this is a real thing.
Yeah, nice.
This is a real thing.
Is that multiplayer?
It is. Yeah. So Demio battles is either it's a 2-on-2, or you can have one person control the two heroes. So it could be a 1-on-1 as well.
Okay. Gotcha.
Or you can play a computer, and there's a single player mode as well.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm a big fan of that one. But getting back to Max Mustard. What would you say is enhanced, or how does VR enhance the game?
Yeah, so what's another way to... Something that's been coming up is, should we do a 2D port? Should we port this to flat screen so we can put it on Steam? And I'm like, it's not going to work, because the design of the levels were just made for VR.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the level design. That's the main thing. So in VR... and Space Pirate Trainer taught us this. Have you played Space Pirate Trainer?
I have.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. When you, like, when you go to the theater, you're in the real world and you're watching a theater stage, right? There's a reason they don't make the theater happen all around you. There's a reason they do it mostly at the front. And it's because that's where it's mostly comfortable. And if they ever do something up and behind, it's a temporary... it's temporary.
Right. And you might miss it.
Also, when you're in VR, you can get motion sick, right? People can. And that happens for various reasons of varying different intensities. And the least motion sick is the same way cars drive. So that's forwards. And with if you're looking straight ahead, it just means things get bigger and come past your eyes, and you've got the good depth perception. If you rotate, if you're in a helicopter, I guess, if you were making a helicopter simulator or roller coaster simulator, and you rotate someone like that, that's what makes people the sickest, the quickest.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, and because their eyes are telling them that they're rotating, but their ears, if your ears don't feel that rotation as well, that's what causes you to feel sick. So, and so every other movement is some level in between those two. And so we can't do side scrolling because that also has a higher increase, but straight ahead is fine. So Astroport designed their levels the same way, and I'm guessing for the same reasons. And so our games, all of our levels, except for some special moments, built straight ahead. And that would, I guess it could be ported to 2D, but you'll be constantly having to use your right thumbstick to move the camera and look around, and you'll miss so many things because it's easier to look around in VR. You just turn your head. And I guess that reminds me of a little story. I was in a VR conference in the US, and the speaker was saying VR games must be first person. And I'm like, what? My favorite game at the time in VR was Hellblade, which is third person. Okay. And I'm like, why are they saying that? That's not true. And then, anyway, I got home. I was on the flight home and I was playing Mario Odyssey on the Switch on the flight. And I'm like, this is awesome. I love this game. Like, I wonder if it would work in VR. And I just kept thinking about the speaker. Anyway, we tried it out, and I'm like, oh my goodness. It's not that VR must be... It's not that 3D platformers aren't good for VR. It's like they're better in VR.
Oh, yeah. I like that twist.
And I'm like, if you add some VR moments that can only be done in VR, like if you see the trailer, you have that gadget at the end of the trailer, and I think in the game something misfires and a tree ends up falling over the top. A giant tree starts to fall, and there's a giant hole in the tree, and it falls over your head, and it freaks. It's all safe. It freaks people out though. And
like the classic cartoon moment or something.
And it's like, oh no, phew, we're safe. And then you can run. The tree is hollowed out. I'll spoil the surprise. The tree is hollowed out, and there's platforming now inside the tree. So, like that would be hard to do without camera trickery, where it breaks the immersion. This just is a one flowing. I don't know. It wouldn't be that same. Whoa! You won't get that playing that on a 2D game. On VR, though, it's like whoa! Yeah. So it's things like that.
I am looking forward to this because I do love me some platforming. Is there a release date you can say, or a release window?
It'll be next year sometime. Yeah,
I like it.
We're hoping for Christmas this year, but we're like, no, let's. It needs to be like we need a bit more time on it.
Yeah. More baking. You don't want a half-baked game.
Yeah, it's been multiple years. Many people, like a few dozen people working on it. Nearly, yeah.
Well, we've been going for about an hour, but I did have one final. So on your website, I forget where I was scrolling, but I saw we are a no guns, no crunch studio, and it stood out to me, and I liked it, and I was just wondering if you could just say something about it because that stood out to me compared to other studios.
There's a lot of studios now doing no crunch, and we've seen the damages it can do from studios in the past, and there's no disrespect for them because everyone was doing it. It was the only way to survive back then. There was higher expectations back then. I think nowadays we shouldn't. If you don't need to do it, you shouldn't.
We're all human.
And now the logic is, if you can't do it without crunch, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Like you just don't have a studio.
That's good framing.
Yeah. So we are pure white. Like if there's an employee, there's a little bit of grey, and that is if there's some employees that or team members that are fully into it, they want to do it, and they're a bit behind, there's a pre-agreement that they can do it, and that they get compensation for that in some way. It's not always agreed.
It's more of a conversation and not just like you're being told to do it, or feeling like you need to do it. It's like, hey, I'm willing to. Yeah, I like it.
No one, and this is from the team, like not from the top. It's just like everyone working together to come up with things like this. But people don't get complimented for working harder or extra hours on something. There's no street cred for doing it. They get street cred for getting the job, like for doing a good job. You don't get street cred for working long hours, things like that, because that normalizes it. And so, Morgan. There's a guy named Morgan Jaffett in Brisbane who's like a game dev veteran, I guess, and he has strong opinions on it. That I kind of share a lot of those opinions, and that is that there's no crunch isn't created equal. If it's done in a controlled way, the health of the person is put first. It's optional. It's not dependent on the project, because if there's crunch needed, that's management's fault. Like that's not their fault, unless they were dragging ass and now they have to catch up or something. But that's not. That crunch isn't created equal.
It's bad management. Yeah, it's bad time management.
That's
or something.
That's our fault, not yours. So, that's what that means. And the no guns thing is, it's two parts for that. Out of respect, I guess, for how many gun deaths there are in our biggest target market, it's just mind-boggling, and it just felt wrong. And this is direction coming from Tony and I love her for that. Like, it's like, and I 100% agree. It's like, but it's her idea. It just seems, for us personally, no disrespect to any other game that has guns, because they sell great. We're just, I don't know, it just seemed a bit wrong. So,
I like the perspective on it. Like, if you want to do guns, you do guns. Like, you've got your market, and we're going to focus over here.
Yeah, so
something we feel comfortable with.
Yeah, that's part of it, and that's the thing that will make it stick. The other part is just good business practice. So the entrepreneur in me is like, okay, what's everyone else making? We'll do the opposite.
Exactly.
Because there's already enough of that.
You don't want to make a zombie shooter? I don't know.
No. I don't mind them sometimes, but we want to make money. So let's make something that can, blow people's minds.
Yeah, stand on its own.
That was a really bad analogy. Let's make something that is amazing and just, we think amazing can happen without the use of the guns as well.
I agree. Definitely agree. And Beat Saber is a great example of that.
Beautiful. But I really admire you for picking up on that. Thank you. That means a lot.
You're welcome.
And
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me and the LTO community. Is there anything you want to? I know we've basically plugged everything you have, but if you want to, say where socials or where people can find you or anything.
Check it. Just Google Richie's Plank and Max Mustard and you can find out about the games. Make a buying decision. That's it. If you're someone out there who's ever shown someone else VR, mad respect to you. Thanks for spreading the good word.
Yes. Thank you all very much. And thank you for joining us on LTO 114.